This is OwlUp, where learning happens in minutes, not hours. For a deeper journey, explore all our courses at owlup.co. Now, let's dive in. Chapter 4 of Second Brain, Organize Everything You Learn. Deep dive into Zettelkasten. In this chapter, you'll learn: explain the Zettelkasten method and its principles. Let's dive in! Niklas Luhmann wrote dozens of dense academic books without keeping traditional outlines. His secret? A box of tiny notes. In this episode, we'll step into that box, follow one note to the next, and see how a simple slip can quietly grow into big ideas. Luhmann didn't just store notes. He built a thinking partner that pushed back, suggested connections he hadn't planned, and kept his ideas alive for decades. That's the real promise of a Zettelkasten today. Not prettier notes, but a system that keeps your past thinking in active conversation with your current work. In this episode, we'll zoom in on what makes that possible in practice. We'll look at how atomic notes force you to clarify a single idea instead of copying whole pages, how deliberate links turn scattered highlights into arguments, and how structure notes let you zoom out to see the larger shape of a topic. We'll also connect this with modern tools like Obsidian and LogSeek, where plugins, queries, and graph views can turn your notes from a quiet archive into a live, searchable idea lab that you actually return to and build on. Instead of trying to capture everything, this is where we start getting selective and a bit ruthless. Most people's systems collapse not because they don't take enough notes, but because they keep too many that never earn their place. In a working Zettelkasten, only ideas that feel worth revisiting get promoted from raw highlights or fleeting thoughts into permanent notes. That promotion step is where your judgment matters most. You're choosing which questions you want your future self to still be in conversation with, weeks or even years from now, and which can safely fade into the background. 30 to 40% faster retrieval of past ideas isn't a small upgrade. It's the difference between, "I'll look that up later," and actually following a thread right now while your curiosity is still hot. That's the real power of a well-run Zettelkasten. It reduces just enough friction that thinking becomes playful again instead of feeling like research homework. So how do you get from a scattered pile of notes to that experience? The first shift is to stop treating your notes as evidence and start treating them as moves in an ongoing project. A raw highlight from a book doesn't do anything for you until it's rewritten in your own words and placed where it can collide with something else. Many people quietly stall here. They collect, but they don't stage collisions. One way to change that is to ask every note a small set of aggressive questions before it joins the system. What problem could this actually help me solve? Where does this contradict or nuance something I already believe? What future decision might this inform? If you can't answer at least one of those, the idea probably isn't ready for your Zettelkasten yet. This is less about perfectionism and more about respecting your own attention budget. Linking also becomes more strategic at this stage. Instead of connecting notes only because they share a topic, you can start using links to encode tension. Supports, challenges, offers an alternative to. A founder exploring pricing might connect one note on premium positioning directly to another on race to the bottom dynamics, not just because both mention pricing, but because they represent opposing moves. The result is that, when you return later, you're not staring at a flat list. You're stepping back into an unresolved conversation. Over time, patterns in these conversations become raw material for decisions. A developer might notice that half their notes about failed features mention users confused by too many options, and that cluster quietly steers the next product iteration. A writer might see that stories about burnout keep linking to notes on loss of autonomy, and there's the thesis for an essay series. Your challenge this week: pick one active project, launch, paper, job search, and create just 5 carefully written, tightly linked notes around it. Not 20, not a whole vault. 5. Each one must 1. Answer a real question you have now, and 2. Link to at least 2 others with a clear why. By the end of the week, open any of those notes and notice: does it pull you forward into next questions, or just sit there. Adjust until it pulls. A useful way to pressure test your system is to follow a single question as it branches. Start with something concrete like, "Why do I stall on important work?" One note captures a quote from a study on procrastination and emotional regulation. Another summarizes a podcast segment on fear of evaluation. A third distills a personal story. You noticed you delay tasks most when someone else will see the result. None of these notes is about everything. Each captures one facet. As you connect them, a pattern emerges. It isn't laziness, it's avoidance of judgment. Now the next note can explore, how do I design work so feedback feels safer? Your challenge this week? Choose one nagging question in your life or work. For 7 days, add exactly one new note per day that contributes a different angle on that question. Research, conversation snippet, small experiment you tried, surprising emotion you noticed. Each new note must A. link to yesterday's note, and B. end with one follow-up question. On day 8, reread the chain and see what answer is quietly taking shape between the lines. 30 years from now, your notes may look more like a living lab notebook than a static archive. As AI starts proposing links and tensions you hadn't considered, your role shifts from filing clerk to editor-in-chief, curating which associations matter. Shared graphs at work could quietly surface hidden expertise. This intern has been tracking this niche for months. And if students graduate with portable systems, careers become less about hoarding facts, more about continuously refining an evolving map of understanding. Over time, this kind of system stops feeling like notes and more like a studio you walk into each day. Some sketches become finished pieces, others stay as rough lines you revisit later. Your challenge is not to keep it tidy, but to keep it alive. Keep asking better questions. Keep tracing unexpected links. Keep letting today's curiosity reshape yesterday's ideas. This was OwlUp, your daily step forward. This series continues with more chapters on OwlUp.co. Visit OwlUp.co to access the complete course and continue your learning journey. See you there!